Now let's talk about the Champions League a little bit more in detail. You briefly saw him at the start of the show, and I'm delighted to say that the football writer Harry De Cosemo joins me now live on Sportuccino. Good morning. How are you doing this morning, Harry?
Hi Richard, I'm good, thank you. Thank you very much for having me on.
It's great to have you. So you've been all across the Champions League the last few nights. Sevilla against Leicester. Just how good was Kasper Schmeichel last night?
I think he was brilliant because Leicester came into the game with absolutely no pressure on them in one way, but also everyone expected them to get absolutely hammered by Sevilla because Sevilla have been so good at the remonstrances Pithwan for so many years, particularly this season under Jorge Sampaoli. So yeah, he was fantastic. I mean, um, if you watch the game, Sevilla played excellently, and they could have scored 5 or 6, but because of him, Leicester still have a foothold in the game.
Yeah, I love that first goal. They scored an absolutely wicked cross and header, which just actually kept Kasper Schmeichel flat-footed. As you mentioned, Sevilla have only lost this season, I think, at home to Juventus and to Barcelona. So pretty good teams not to, to lose to. So where does this leave Leicester now? Just how important is that away goal, do you think?
Vital because they can come back to the King Power Stadium where they were so good last season, and they can really go for it. I mean, that's not what they're great at. To be fair, they're not specifically great at going forward with possession, but I think if they've now got a foothold, they've got something to build on, and if they can get Jamie Vardy in behind the defence like they did a couple of times in the second half yesterday, because I thought Sevilla dropped off quite spectacularly, even though they were fantastic in the first half. In the second half, they weren't as good, and if they can really get a foothold, get the likes of Mahrez and Vardy doing what they did last season, then they could have a chance. But I still back Sevilla to go through.
Yeah, I was glad that they went with Vardy as furthest forward because while I think Slimani's a very good player, I think it takes away from actually what Jamie Vardy can do. Interesting, they played the
Yeah.
five. I'm still a big fan of Okazaki. Maybe like to see him in the side ahead of Musa, who I'm still not so sure of. There were quite a few interesting, controversial decisions, but I don't think there was anything controversial about the penalty which Sevilla got. Was there?
No, I don't think so. I think it was a clear penalty. Yeah.
And it was a good save, of course, by Kasper
Yeah.
Schmeichel. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with Leicester when they return to the King Power with that 2-1 loss to Sevilla. We'll have to see what happens there. Now let's move on to the other Champions League game. Juventus 2-0 winners against Porto. Now it seemed that it was all this red card which really changed the sway of the game, wasn't it, Harry?
Yeah, I mean, it happened early in the game. So, Porto have had a 10-month winning streak at the Stadio de Dragao, sorry, and they've been excellent throughout, for a long time at home. So they came into the game with good confidence, and then that red card just completely changed the game. I thought that the game was won though by Allegri's substitutions, obviously with the 2 goals coming from Piazza and Dani Alves, but yeah, I thought that the game was really a real sign that Juventus could really go on to win this competition. Actually,
What do you make of Piazza? I think he looks pretty decent. Quite impressed with him during the Euros.
yeah, he looks really. He's a really really talented player. I think he adds something to the midfield that not many other players in the team do, because Juventus's midfield's been through a bit of a transitional phase, obviously in the last couple of years, obviously losing the 2014-15 Champions League final midfield was Pirlo, Vidal, Marquisio, and Pogba. Now Marquisio's got older and doesn't play as regularly. Pirlo's obviously left to New York. Vidal's gone to Bayern Munich, and obviously Pogba left for Manchester United last season. So they've had a bit of a reshuffle in there, and he really does. He looks like he's got a real place in that midfield. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, one of the big news about Allegri before the game was dropping Bonucci after their bust-up in that match against Palermo. Did it look like they missed him at all?
Not really, because I think Allegri really deserves a lot of credit, because that sort of thing a lot of managers wouldn't do. And I think Allegri has really showed his really showed what he can do in terms of his big decision making. And I thought, he sort of dealt with it similarly to the way that Antonio Conte dealt with Diego Costa at Chelsea in January. And I think that sort of way to take them out the firing line is a massive. It's a big risk. Don't get me wrong; it could have gone wrong, but it didn't. It didn't look like they could. It didn't look like it was going wrong at all, really.
And they're home and dry through to the quarterfinals, aren't they, Harry?
I would think so. They don't lose that many games at the Juventus Stadium at all. They look really, really strong. And as I say, I think they can really launch a good campaign to try and win the competition this year.
Yeah, let's talk about that. We've had all of the first legs of the last 16 ties now, all of the start of the knockout round. Who looks the strongest for you right now?
It's really, for the first time in a few years, I think all of the clubs certainly the top three in Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Bayern Munich. Barcelona obviously probably most likely out of the competition this year. Real Madrid have looked decent, but they've also had trouble at times in La Liga this season. So, and Bayern Munich have obviously struggled at times in Bundesliga as well. So not all three of those aren't looking particularly strong. I think I quite fancy a team to come up from behind in either Juventus, Atletico Madrid, or PSG to actually come and really launch a good attack for it. To be honest,
not City.
I don't think they're strong enough defensively. I think they were excellent on Tuesday going forward, and I think Pep Guardiola really has cemented his place as the reason why Manchester City wanted to bring him to the club, because I think he's given them that sort of belief that they can one day go on to win the Champions League, but not this season, just because they just don't defend well enough.
And you mentioned Real Madrid there, Harry. They were in action last night in the Spanish League, in La Liga. They're top of the league. They were going into this match away at Valencia with a 1 point lead at the top of the table with 2 games to play. So they had the chance to take it to a 4 point lead at the top, but they blew it. But have you seen the Zaza goal?
Yeah, it's pretty good, isn't it?
It's not the same guy, is it?
No. Zaza's a strange player because he was so good in time at Sassuolo, but then we went to Juventus and couldn't get in the team. And then, everyone thought when he came to West Ham, obviously in the Euros he had that terrible penalty as well. When he came to West Ham, everyone was saying this is his opportunity to shine, and West Ham, that together they could really make a real push up the Premier League, and it just didn't work. And then he's come to Valencia, who are struggling so poorly in La Liga this season, but he looks like he's found his feet.
Absolutely incredible. The way he just held off Varane, knocked the ball in front of him, turned and shot. It was. If you haven't seen it online, take a look. It's absolutely an incredible strike from Simone Zaza. It was 2 early goals for them. In fact, they scored both of them within the first 9 minutes. Oriano there with the second. 2 of their winter signings. So, what does this mean for Real Madrid? Is this just a blip? Is this just a lack of concentration? Are we still expecting them to win the league? Or does this really open the door for teams such as Barcelona, Sevilla, maybe even Atletico Madrid?
I think the crucial thing is that they had 2 games in hand. So they had one opportunity to struggle and lose a game. But I think this will probably be a wake-up call. I think they can use this as a way to bounce back and become stronger, because they have looked excellent at times this season, as well as I say, that their results have been good, but their performances haven't all the time. So they're at the top, and I think they'll come through, just because Barcelona. I don't think Sevilla have the quality to break the duopoly, and Barcelona are struggling particularly this season as well. So yeah, I fancy Real Madrid to win the title.
Haven't been very strong now. I've got the poll up on the screen from yesterday. Do you think Wayne Rooney will still be a Manchester United player? Now, the reason we brought that up yesterday was the fact that Mourinho made comments ahead of their game against Saint Etienne saying that he couldn't guarantee that Wayne Rooney would be a United player. Now, then there were stories yesterday that his agents had spoken to Chinese representatives. I think Fabio Cannavaro, one of the managers out in China, came out and said, we spoke to Rooney, but we couldn't get him. It's not going to happen. But now, apparently, his agent is in China having talks. Is this the end of Wayne Rooney as a United player, Harry?
I just can't see him moving to China for so many reasons. I mean, one thing, it is interesting to see that in the summer when he was dropped mocked by Roy Hodgson in the Euros. Roy Hodgson got lambasted for it. He couldn't believe that he dared drop Wayne Rooney. But now, months on, if there was an England squad to be selected now and he wasn't in it, there wouldn't be that much of a real issue with it from a lot of fans. But China seems to be so wrong for him in so many ways. Not only does he still want to play for England, but he also has a young family. And the Mourinho comments were, I think they've been twisted a little bit, because while he did say that he couldn't guarantee he was going to be at the club, he also said that he didn't want him to leave and that he couldn't guarantee that himself, as in Jose Mourinho, wouldn't be at the club next week. So I think a little bit has been made too much out of the China thing. But if his agent's in China, then perhaps. But it just doesn't sit right with me that he might leave to China, to be honest.
If you don't think China, though, do you think he will still be a United player next season?
No, I can't see that. I think a lot of people have been calling for him to maybe go back to Everton. I think they might have moved on from him a little bit in that regard, because the problem Wayne Rooney has is that he lacks pace, and every club, certainly every top European club, wants to play with pace. So it's quite hard to see where he fits in at any top club, to be honest.
It's been interesting how Zlatan over the last few years has transformed himself as a player. I was listening to his audiobook recently about how he's not as quick as he was when he was a kid and been able to use other facets of his game. Look at Alan Shearer, for example. As he got older, he didn't become as quick, but he was able to change his game. Different position gigs as well. It'd be interesting to see what Wayne Rooney could do to try and change his game. I'm not going to ask you how he can do that, because I think only elite level players know the answer to that, Harry. I don't think, unless you played in the Champions League that I don't know about, I don't think either me or you can answer that question. But let's talk about United in general. They got that win over San Etienne. For me, they're looking really good in this competition, and Mourinho's taking it pretty seriously right now.
Yeah, I think if they want to win the competition, they will be favourites for it. But it just goes down to what they really want to do. The key thing is for Mourinho is that the winner qualifies for the Champions League. So that really will make a big difference in his approach to it, because I think there was a lot of discussions when he first joined, when he first went to Old Trafford, that maybe he wouldn't be that bothered about the Europa League because he was focusing on the Premier League title or the Champions League qualification from the top four. But now he's in this position, it makes no real difference to him to really push for both competitions, plus the FA Cup as well. So yeah, I think if they go into it with the right mindset, they'll definitely be favourites to win the competition.
Of course, they've got the League Cup coming up as well against Southampton in the final. Have to see how they get on there. Did you see the Bailly sending off? What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Eric Bailly, but sometimes it just doesn't. I just don't think he's quite there as a top centre half yet. And I think, yeah, I don't know whether that will come back to bite the Red Devils in the next round. But yeah, I don't see him having too many issues.
I thought it was a little bit harsh, to be fair. I think he was genuinely going for the ball. I don't think he hurt the other player as much. Unlike, actually, we didn't mention in the Real Madrid game, I think it was maybe Zaza or certainly a Valencia forward it was Munir. It was Munir who went down in the box and he was stamped on pretty much by Ramos. Nothing was given. I felt that was a penalty, and I actually felt Bailly shouldn't have been sent off. Let me know your thoughts on that if you're watching on Periscope, Facebook, or on YouTube. I'd love to hear from you. Well, it's been really good speaking to Harry this morning on Sportuccino. Harry, just before you go, let us know how we can continue to get your great knowledge on social media and anything else you'd like to promote, please.
Yeah, I'm on Twitter at Harry De Cosemo, and I write for a number of different websites in the UK and abroad, including Sportuccino in India, and I've done work for Marca in English and the Press Association in England. So yeah, keep up with me, please. Yeah, keep up with me, please.
We definitely will. Harry, it's been so good to talk to you. Harry De Cosemo, football writer, thank you so much for being on Sportuccino this morning.